There is some new optimism today that inflation could be leveling off and beginning to ease for consumers. Critical new data showing the consumer price index holding steady from last month and the pace of inflation falling from the previous year. Larry Summers served as Treasury Secretary to President Clinton and as Director of President Obama's National Economic Council and joins me now. Larry, thank you very much. Out there in beautiful Aspen, Colorado, where I bet it's not pushing on 100 degrees, so good for you.
True.
What is your take on the data today? What about core inflation? Are you seeing any improvement?
Look, I think this was a pretty good number. We knew gas prices were way down and that was going to have a large effect on headline. The core number was a bit better than we expected, people expected. That was largely driven by components like hotels, like airlines, like used cars that are volatile month to month, that are hard to seasonally adjust, especially coming out of the pandemic, and that aren't so easy to measure. So I think it would be a mistake for anyone to radically revise their view of the situation based on these numbers. This report's a lot like the report in March, which was followed by very discouraging reports afterwards, making the optimists from March look wrong several months later. So I'm not saying that that's going to happen again, but I think we just need to maintain a sense of uncertainty and wait for the data as it comes. I still think we have a very serious inflation problem in this country. I don't think that inflation problem is going to go away of its own volition. And so I think we're likely to have some quite turbulent times ahead.
And there's still the possibility, you told me last time, 75% chance of recession as well.
Yeah, I mean, every month where we don't have one, I suppose it goes down a little bit. But I think if you said with a horizon of 2 years, I would say a 75% chance of recession is about right. Looking at the fact that the economy has many aspects of overheating, looking at a traditional financial indicator, the fact that long-term bonds have lower interest rates than shorter-term bonds, looking at the tremendous amount of uncertainty that's expressed by consumers and business people.
I also want to mention the Senate Democrats' legislation, which they call the Inflation Reduction Act. So how much real inflation reduction do you think it includes, especially now that they watered down the drug cost controls considerably, limiting it to Medicare patients?
I think it's going to operate in the right direction on inflation. I think it's going to do some fundamentally important things for energy and the environment and for having a better functioning tax system. So I was a strong supporter of the bill. And I think very importantly, unlike a lot of other fiscal measures that have been proposed or implemented at various stages, it's going in the right direction rather than the wrong direction. But I don't think any impact is likely to be large unless it's followed up on, which I certainly hope it will be, with more revenue raising.
And then, obviously, a lot of us follow you on Twitter. What about Sinema Thune, last-minute carve-outs for private equity, minimizing the real deficit reduction? And, how do you justify it? You wrote, I am pretty cynical and hardly anti-business in general, or private equity in particular, but I am appalled by the end stages of the Senate bill's passage. There's no legitimate public policy argument for the maintenance of carried interest or what Senator Thune and Senator Sinema's private equity carve out from the bill. It makes me despair of the general interest above the special interest.
Kind of says my view pretty well. You can argue about the technicalities of the thing involving pooling of private equity interests. Andrea, it's a technical thing, but I don't really get the argument at all for why people who work for a living and earn their living by doing investing for other very wealthy people should pay the taxes at half the rate that the rest of us do, and that people who earn money do. That just seems wrong to me, and that's the effect of the carried interest loophole. And in case I thought this was being driven by the merits, all you need to do is study the patterns of the campaign contributions received by some of the major actors here and how hard some of those who are benefiting from the tax break have worked to preserve it. So I don't think that was a particularly inspiring example of our democracy, even though on balance, I think it's clear that the bill is better than not having passed the bill.
Thank you very much, Larry Summers. Appreciate your
Andrea, great to be with you.